We're located in sunny Tampa Bay, Florida, and we would like to express our appreciation to Computer Guidance and for the team there, Vicki Satran and Michael Reiser, for hosting this webinar today. And most of all, we'd like to thank you for attending. Also, we have present with us Colleen Miller. She's with River City Construction, and she's going to give a testimony about how she uses both CGC's hosted eCMS and Resource Commander. So the agenda is going to look like this. We are going to have about 45 minutes. We're going to begin with Michael Reiser with CGC. He's going to speak about the CGC product line. Then Colleen is from River City Construction is going to speak about her experience with Resource Commander with eCMS. Then Kurt Peterson from ACS Connect is going to give a brief high-level PowerPoint presentation about the application of remote time entry and electronic time collection with Resource Commander. Jeff Hicks is going to then present a demonstration of Resource Commander. At that time, then we are going to have a question and answers at the end. So throughout the presentation, we'd like to invite you to send your questions via the question box on GoToMeeting. And at the end of the time, we're going to review the questions and then answer those. You can ask questions from Michael, Colleen, Kurt, Jeff, myself. So send any questions that you have, and we'll address those at the end. So without further ado, Michael, I would like to thank you again for the opportunity to have this joint webinar with CGC. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Debbie, thank you, and hello everyone. This is Michael Reiser with Computer Guidance Corporation. I'm a regional sales manager, and we're located in the hot Scottsdale, Arizona area. About 107 today, we're told. Computer Guidance provides a leading construction enterprise resource planning solution for contractors, commercial contractors across all of North America. We're pleased to be part of the webinar. Thank you for having us. We appreciate and value everyone's time today, and thank you all for joining us. Our objective, as Debbie mentioned today, is to present pertinent and relevant benefit-oriented information regarding embracing remote technology and its integration into ERP software solutions. In the construction industry, Resource Commander tracks labor and equipment resources as well as production quantities through remote entry that integrates seamlessly with Computer Guidance ERP solution called eCMS, and directly touches payroll, job cost, and equipment accounting applications. Computer Guidance has enjoyed serving the financial management, operations, project costing, project management, and business intelligence needs of the heavy civil contractors, general contractors, and specialty contractors for a little over 30 years. Computer Guidance offers a full array of ERP applications. On the top left side, you see our financial management suite, including, of course, general ledger, accounts payable, subcontractor management, accounts receivable, and owner billing, for example. Our operations management suite includes, of course, job cost, equipment accounting, equipment management, and project collaboration. Our productivity tools include imaging, scanning, workflow approvals, and forms management. And our business intelligence suite on the lower left-hand side includes, of course, drillable dashboards, metrics, key performance indicators, and ERP-level management and operations reporting. And the reason we're here today, of course, is the integration with industry-leading technology partners, specifically ACS Connect. We're proud to have ACS Connect as an integrated technology partner with Computer Guidance Corporation. ACS Connect has been providing integration and development services for over a quarter century now, and demonstrating a continued and relentless commitment to assisting contractors in making their business lives run just a little bit easier. During the last 15 years, Computer Guidance and ACS Connect have offered a complete two-way true integration between our products. Our customers are capturing labor, equipment hours, production quantities remotely one time, and are benefiting from those results throughout the enterprise forever. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a mutual customer of ours, both of Computer Guidance Corporation and ACS Connect. Colleen Miller is a payroll administrator with River City Construction located in East Peoria, Illinois. River City is a general contractor and a long-term customer of Computer Guidance. When River City joined us initially, they used our on-premise server-based solution and now has moved through their upgrade to our hosted cloud-based solution. River City Construction represents a great example of a contractor leveraging technology to improve operations and reduce time associated with capturing labor and equipment costs. And now, we'd like to personally thank Colleen Miller for sharing the ways River City has benefited from leveraging remote data capture technology in the construction enterprise. Colleen?
Hi. I've been employed by River City Construction for almost 14 years in the payroll department. Before learning about Resource Commander at one of our user group meetings in St. Louis 2 years ago, we were completely dependent on hand-delivered, faxed, or emailed timesheets. On the average, we could have 200 pages of timesheets that would have to be re-entered into eCMS. During some conversations with the owners, it was decided some extra work was going to be shuffled to the payroll department, so we decided to look for a program to streamline our entry process and save time for our payroll department. Resource Commander has either met or surpassed our expectations, especially in the cost savings area. Our field supervisors would have to handwrite on a timesheet each employee and then break out the hours by cost code. This would sometimes cause them 2 hours a day just filling out timesheets on the larger projects with 30 to 40 field employees. They would then send their information into our department for us to duplicate on eCMS. River City has 2 employees in the payroll department to enter that time. Before switching to Resource Commander, it would take 1 employee 4 days to enter time for contract jobs, and that has been reduced to 2 hours. The other employee that entered time and material hours went from 3 days of entering time down to 6 hours. In the past, as field employees moved from job to job, hours were missed for the travel time or missed completely. Now the supers can see what has been entered by somebody else, eliminating the hour travel time that is usually missed. Since Resource Commander is integrated with eCMS, as cost codes are added and activated, the superintendents usually have the most current information on site. In the past, they depended on our cost reports that were printed weekly after payroll was updated, and sometimes they would grab a material report on accident and cause delays by entering cost codes from those reports rather than the labor reports. Another problem we had during the entry from the timesheet, the super would use nicknames for the field employees, and we would have a hard time trying to find the employee with the first name of Mud or Hog, or to find out the employee has been using his middle name instead of his given name. Now the supers realize the same problem and have had to adjust on their end. By greatly reducing the errors from the duplication of time as well as human error, we have been able to reduce calls to us from the field for several reasons. We do not have to write 15 to 20 short checks for hours missed. We might have to cut 1 or 2 now. The supers are able to make corrections to cost codes before time is uploaded on our end, therefore reducing the amount of time we have had to move to fix a cost code in the payroll department. The project managers and supers have found the reports beneficial to them on the job site. They have the hour information by cost code immediately rather than having to wait for payroll to be updated. They do not have to call the office for total hour information to write change orders, field work orders, or even while working on projected labor reports. Our accounts receivable department even utilizes the reporting section for backup on our time and material projects for the owners of the projects we are working on. Rather than giving them a copy of a handwritten timesheet that even I couldn't read, they have to print out the Resource Commander in a clean and professional format. We have shaved our check run time down from 5 hours to 3 hours on Wednesdays when we print the checks. We have around 400 checks per week, either printed and sitting on my desk or next day aired to the job, all by 2:30 on Wednesdays. Since Resource Commander has saved our company time and money, we have realized several surprises that we were not expecting. Not only have we had the time savings and eliminated the need to hire another employee in the payroll department, but when another department had an employee quit, rather than hiring someone to replace her, we switched an employee from another department and took that employee's work and shoveled it to the payroll department, therefore saving the cost of hiring someone new. All in all, we were able to reduce the amount of time spent in the payroll department processing timesheets, reallocate those resources to replace an employee who we unexpectedly lost without the need and expense to rehire, reduce the number of errors coming in from the field, and the time spent in the payroll department correcting those errors and generating new paychecks, all while giving the guys in the field real-time information as to where their jobs stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. My name is Kurt Peterson. I'm from ATS Connect. I'd like to kind of take you through the channel that the information follows with inside of Resource Commander and how it all works. From eCMS, we get plain, accurate jobs, cost codes, equipment information, employees, the budgets, everything that's needed to be presented in the field. That is integrated with Resource Commander so that it can be presented to the field using handheld devices such as a smartphone, tablet, desktop computer, whatever devices you have available for you today or that you may need in the future. What that allows is, and as we heard Colleen say, is the ability to print reports of daily job logs and other information accurately and in a real-time state from Resource Commander. Once all the information has been validated, any changes or modifications that may be needed, we can then, with one click, directly integrate back into eCMS the payroll information, the production units, what has been completed, and equipment usage. With the paper process, as we heard before, the sheets are filled out step by step, checked by supervisors, tracked, moved, brought back into the field, rekeyed into eCMS. Any incomplete information has to be modified or changed or corrected, and then reports are available. Using technology such as Resource Commander, time can be entered at the point of activity. That is electronically validated because only valid jobs, cost codes, and employee information is available in the field. But immediately from Resource Commander, we can run those reports that are so valuable. It does eliminate the time that's needed for faxing, the errors that take place, time being rekeyed into eCMS. Any incomplete or invalid information is always valid. And then with that one click, batch into eCMS for payroll. Resource Commander can work where it's needed. In the office, if you have time that needs to be captured, employees that are being costed to a particular job, they can do that at their desk through web access or through a console. In the field, it can run on many devices, including time clocks, if you have sites that require such devices. Field management, superintendents, project managers can access on their laptop very detailed information and write and run reports in the field. This runs online and offline as well. A supervisor can use a handheld device such as a tablet or a smartphone to look at a dashboard to see where the crew is, how they're performing in a real-time state. You can also collect information for the equipment that you have in the field, as well as for the human resources. We like to think that we address what the users need. We want it to be easy to use in the fields so that there's no reluctance for the field to gather that information. We also want to capture everything. We want to eliminate the need for any sort of paper in the field. So if you have notes that need to be accompanied by a time entry, that can be done as well. We also want to give the field dashboards so that they can not only see reports or have access to reports, but also that real-time dynamic information that can be available on dashboards from time complete or time that has been entered for their crews. We also need to be able to work connected or disconnected so that if there is no connectivity in the field where the device is located or where time is being collected, we can still operate. and also run on many different types of devices. Not only the devices that you have today, but the best value of devices that you may want to purchase, or that may change. We need to see how fast technology changes 6 months from now of what 10 devices might be available in the field. We are seamlessly integrated with eCMS. That means something just a little bit more than uploading a file and downloading a file. That means in a near real-time state that information is being brought from eCMS, so when a job is added or an employee is added or a cost code is closed, it becomes available in that form and resource commander. That allows for information can be collected accurately. On-demand reporting. We have constant visibility because that information is real-time on where the jobs are at for decision grade management decisions on adding additional resources to a job or reducing resources or rescheduling how something's being done. We also want to eliminate that need for paper and redundancy in paper. All the information inside a Resource Commander as it is in eCMS is fully auditable. The information is available in a database, so if a transaction or something needs to be tracked, we can go back and look at it. But utmost, it's easy to use by the field and office personnel. Now, Jeff is going to take over here and bring up the actual application so we can get a view into how the application truly works.
Thank you, Kurt. I'm going to go ahead and bring up what we call BlueStacks, which is an Android emulator out in here that allows us to play our application through the computer here, so that you can see what it would be like out on a smartphone out in the field. So as that brings up, or as that pulls up, I also have the application here in the background that Resource Commander operates on a laptop. So we'll start out here in the field as I log in. And again, this is just like I was on my phone. All the applications you'll see at the top are the various apps you might see on a phone, and I'll go ahead and select our field time application and log in. All right, so I pull in field time, and I go ahead and just type in my username and password. I log in, and at that point, it goes ahead and it goes out and gets the validations and the information from the server, from Resource Commander on the server back in the office. Finds out any new jobs or cost codes that have been added since the last time I logged in. So that's information that's been added within eCMS. It's already been pulled down onto Resource Commander's server. And then we go ahead and pull it in for the foreman out in the field. So when he logs in, he has access to only the most recent jobs and cost codes available to him. So here you'll see I have my employees listed on the right-hand side. I have some employees as well as a couple pieces of equipment that I'm responsible for, and my crew. I'm going to go ahead and enter some time in for the employees. And I do that just by selecting the silhouette here, and I'll go ahead and select all employees and hit next, and then I have the option to select from my available jobs. Now when I go ahead and select the job that I want to work with, I'm given only the cost codes that correspond to that job. So I only have a few jobs available to me. Now this is a short list of jobs that are available to me out in the field. That doesn't mean that that's all the cost codes that might be available for this job. That's just what I'm responsible for working on. So I shorten the list of what's available to them so I only get accurate information. I'm going to go ahead and put in 8 hours for each of these guys just for simplicity's sake and hit finish. And now I'll go over to my work history and I'll take a look at all the time that's out there for these guys. And you'll see each of these guys has 8 hours here. So each of these guys has 8 hours that they've already worked on something that they were responsible for out in the field, a structural cured in place. I'm going to go ahead and change one of these, and I can do so by logging into to that particular code. And if say I wanted to make this guy a foreman for the day, I can go ahead and reclassify him. I can add a note that somebody left early for the day. His daughter was sick. Anything that I need to pass through into the into internal billing, or something that I want to pass through for billing to the customer. We have a couple different fields here that we can choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and attach a note to that And let's say I'll give him 7.5 hours instead of 8. So I'm going to make those changes right here. Now you'll see there's a note attached to this gentleman's time. And I'm going to go ahead and sign for my time for Carl Beal. That's an option we have out in the field, is to capture the signature for the 8 hours that he's worked. So I want to go ahead and sign that. If you notice up at the top, you say, by signing this screen and pressing accept, I verified that I did work the hours reflected below, and I sustained no injuries while completing this work. You may have some specific verbiage that you want to use. This is what we have as our default. Some folks have added to this that nor did I witness any injuries, so that the entire crew is basically vouching that no one else in the crew was injured. And then when somebody comes back with a claim a few days later, you have an employee audit report that you can run that says all these people signed off on their time. They said that they weren't injured. And I'm using my my finger on the screen here, and that's not very pretty, but by pressing accept, I verified that I did work the hours below. We also have this available in Spanish or French. If I hit Spanish, it'll record that I saved this in Spanish. That I actually was looking at Spanish when I pressed accept. I'm going to go ahead and accept this, and now you'll see there's a little X next to his time. That means he's verified that he worked those 8 hours. If the time is changed by someone subsequent to this, it's going to show up on an audit report, so that for time changed. Now, that doesn't mean you can't reallocate it to another cost code, but what it would mean is that you actually, if you change from 8 hours, say up to 9 hours or down to 7.5, that would show up on your audit report. It's not exactly the cost code it's assigned to, because that's not what the employee cares about. Another nice feature we have is the ability to go out and see where the guy was when he signed in, last known location. Now, this is going to go ahead and pull up where we're at here in Brandon, Florida, when I clocked this guy in earlier. But you can see that you have instant visibility. Was he on the job site? Was he actually where he says he was? Or is this showing his house, 30 miles away? So we have some neat pieces in this application that allow you to actually track where the guy is when he works on the time, or when he works on the, when he works on the task at hand. And then we can go ahead and verify that he actually worked the hours that he says he did. I'm going to go back out to my main screen now and take a look at putting in some production out in the field as well. Now, the employee time is done exactly the same as the employee, or I'm sorry, the equipment time is done exactly the same as the employee time. So I won't bother showing you guys how that's done. It's just exactly the same. But we'll go ahead and go into this production option here. And I want to look at the time that I've put in today. I can look at the hours that were worked on Tuesday here, 47.5 hours. I budgeted 15 hours for this cost code, and I can see I have 127.5 hours remaining. Now, when I look at the hours per unit down here, the hours per cubic yard were budgeted at 2.5 hours per cubic yard. To date, I've worked at 2.7 hours per cubic yard, so I'm a little bit behind on my productivity level. And I'm going to go ahead and enter in what I've worked on today. So I'll put in the 20 cubic yards. Hit save and continue. It automatically updates that information. Automatically updates that information. Now I can see that today I worked at 2.37 hours per cubic yard, and I've lowered my to-date numbers down to 2.63. So I'm getting closer to where I wanted to be. That's, again, what the foreman would see out in the field here in both a dashboard screen, and then you get more details when you dig into any of the individual icons here. All that information is being replicated back over to our Resource Commander server in real time. So out there in the field, we have the simple use out on the field devices, and then we have some more available options when you come over to the laptop application. So what I'm looking at here is a payroll person's point of view, where they have access to managed resources, which is where a foreman might typically live, productivity, where a project manager typically spends most of their time, and then we have the upload tab. The upload tab is where payroll is going to spend a lot of their time. Reporting would be available for everybody, and then depending on what role you are when you're logged in, shows which reports you have available to you. Furthermore, the jobs and the cost codes that you have access to are limited on your reports, so I can only look at the jobs I have access to. Somebody in the payroll department sees all jobs and all cost codes. Somebody out in the field may only be responsible for 2 jobs and 5 cost codes on each. Maybe those are the only things that they need reports on as well. And then the final tab that you notice up at the top is the administration tab, and that's reserved for typically somebody in the IT department or somebody in payroll. So when I hit refresh here, I'm going to see the time that I put in out in the field. I can see that the 8 hours were added. On this job, Carl Beal, the note that was passed in from Danny Williams, by hitting my button here, my note there, I can see that he left early and his daughter was sick. So that's going to tell somebody in the payroll department why he doesn't have 40 hours this week. He also has a note from yesterday's time. Excuse me. So here on this screen, we see all the time that was put in out in the field. I also have the ability to put in or change any time here. I can duplicate a line if somebody had some overtime, and I can go ahead and give them overtime. Now, this probably wouldn't be a good example of somebody that got overtime if he left after 7.5 hours, but I'll give him some overtime for yesterday. And go ahead and save. And now I've given that guy overtime for the time he worked yesterday. Now I'm going to take you over to my reporting tab and show you some available reports that they would see either from the payroll department or out in the field. Now this particular person has access to a lot of reports. Daily job log, the daily worksheet. The common one for payroll department is the pre-upload validation exceptions reports to make sure that any of the time that's been entered out in the field, that none of those cost codes have been closed, say midweek after some time was charged to them. Before I upload that to eCMS, I want to know that that cost code is open and available for me to charge time to. If it shows up on that report, I either need to go back into eCMS and open the cost code or change the distribution out here within Resource Commander. You can run a weekly employee timesheet. Productivity summaries are common examples out in the field. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of these. One that I like in particular is a labor breakdown report. And this is going to show you that on the job to date, the time I've spent in regular hours, how much of this job has been charged to overtime, and how much has been charged to benefits. This might be something to make sure that you're keeping the costs low on your jobs by not putting too much overtime towards any particular one job or cost code. This can be run by job or cost code. I'll go ahead and bring up another report that's pretty common, a daily job log. You see all the time that was out there for yesterday. There were a couple notes that were passed in from the field, but they all appear here on the daily job log. So anybody who worked on the job and any pieces of equipment that were charged to the job will show up here. This is something that a lot of our customers will give to an owner, as Colleen mentioned, to verify that the time was spent on the job and where it was spent on what cost code. You can see that Danny Williams left early on Monday as well because his daughter was sick, but Carl Beal, the foreman, held a safety meeting and put in some notes about the weather. Go over to another report here, and we look at our productivity summary, labor unit analysis report. So on that project labor code that we were just looking at, I can look at last week and say from the period of 5/14 to 5/18, how did we do? I want to see, the units that were put in place. We put in place 90 units. It took me 242 hours. So I worked at a rate of 0.37 units per hour during that period, while I budgeted at 0.4 units per hour, so I can tell I'm immediately behind. I can tell also from hours over here remaining, I have 1,277 hours to date on this cost code, where 1,500 were budgeted, yet it's going to take me 319 hours to complete. So that's something that tells me right away that I'm a little bit behind on this job. All these reports also can be output to both PDF and Excel. So if you want to manipulate this data and go ahead and extrapolate out for costs and other information, you can do that right here by dumping this report to Excel. I'll show you one more report that I think you'll find interesting, the employee audit report. Now this is that report where I just signed out in the field that I verified that that I worked these hours and I didn't get injured. So if somebody comes back in on Tuesday and says, I got injured yesterday, we pull out this report and say, well, okay, yesterday you worked 8 hours on this, on this code. This is your signature at what time you signed, where you were when you signed it, and this is you verifying that you weren't injured. Now, it's probably not going to be the next day. It's going to be a couple weeks later that you finally get that I hurt myself claim, or a couple days later, and you're just going to go up and pull this report for each of the guys on the crew that said, nor did I witness any injuries. And then you have your justification that there was no injury on the job site. Another thing that a common project manager might review out here in the field using the laptop would be the productivity screen. Here I can see on a particular date how I performed. Now I can see on this particular date, yesterday, Monday, I put in place 20 units. I had 49.5 hours that were charged to that code. And so my hours per unit were 2.48 hours per unit versus a 2.5 hours per unit budgeted. So I can see I was ahead of the pace desired, and I'm 83% complete, but I have 173 hours left to complete the job. Now I'm going to go ahead to next, say, Wednesday, when I don't have any time actually out there, and I'm going to do a what-if scenario. And I'm going to say, with those 125.5 hours I have remaining after yesterday's time was also added to that daily view, if it took me 125.5 hours and we're able to get the 80 units put in place, what rate would I have to work at to achieve that goal? And I can see that I would have to actually work at 1.57 hours per unit in order to finish this job on time. So that's just an interesting what-if scenario where you can kind of game plan for what you need to do to get the job done on time. Now we're really going to take off our project manager hat and actually take over the role of somebody in payroll. The last thing a project manager might do would be over on this Manage Resources tab, where they would go ahead and actually approve the time. I'm going to look at the time from last week. I've already made some approvals out there, but this is information that will be picked up when I go over to the Upload tab. I just wanted to show you where it came from, so that when I'm going over to the Upload tab and I actually start filtering this information, I can easily identify the time that's been approved and time that hasn't been approved. There's 3 parts to this screen here, and on the left you'll notice I have some filtering criteria. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look up time for last week's period. I'm going to go ahead and select the crew that I'm looking at. If you want to do all employees, you could certainly do that here. If you wanted to look at a specific job, because maybe you wanted to upload a batch for each job so that you could print on the job site, you can do that here, so that we can just filter time for this particular job. I'm not going to go that detailed, and I'm just going to look at the hours and employee time. And I've set my filters. Now I'm going to pull that time in. You'll notice right away there are a couple things I can filter on. The approvals. I want to see any time that wasn't approved. So I just filter out all the approved time, and now I'm seeing that David Breeden's time wasn't approved. So I need to know why. I can see that there was a note put in on Monday, when he only spent 6.5 hours, and I can see that he left early, so he went home sick. It might be an important note for the payroll department. I'm going to go ahead and shrink down that side of the screen so I can see a little bit more here. So I want to make sure that he has 40 hours of regular time before he gets any overtime. But it doesn't look like that's the case, actually. So I actually need to change this 2.5 hour, or this 4 hours to 9.5 hours of regular time on Tuesday to make up for the 1.5 hours he missed yesterday, and give him credit for 2.5 hours today, or 2.5 hours of overtime, and hit save. And I've now corrected that error. He has 40 hours of regular time, 2.5 hours of overtime, and either I can mark it approved, or now that I'm satisfied that that time is accurate, I can go ahead and mark all this time for upload. One of the first things people do when they come in from the payroll department on Monday morning is typically they'll right-click and they'll lock all these records so that nobody else can adjust those as they're reviewing them. So more time isn't coming in prior to you hitting the upload button. So I've locked all these records. As I go through and select somebody else up on the top, all their time shows up at the bottom, and I can verify that it's accurate. Again, I'm seeing that 40 hours of regular, 6 hours of overtime. Okay, that's good. I want to make sure why there's so much overtime. Okay, 4 hours of overtime approved for the crew. We're making up for lost productivity from the rain on Monday. All right, so that's a good note to know. Eventually, once I'm satisfied that all this information is accurate, I'll select all of these records for upload and go ahead and send them up to eCMS. Now when I go back over to my Manage Resources tab and pull up this time, I can see all those records are locked. Now that they've been uploaded, you can see they were locked as of 5/22. I cannot make any changes to them. So that time is locked. Same thing applies once the time has been approved. The time is locked out for anybody below that approval level to come back in and make any changes.
Thank you, Jeff. The purpose of this demonstration was to give you a high-level look at Resource Commander. We understand this is a treetop view, and if you have questions, you'd like to send some, if you haven't already. And we would also welcome the opportunity to give you more in-depth demonstration, and you can get in touch with us directly through the numbers on the screen or through your local CGC contact. We appreciate you attending today, and again, we'd like to thank CGC and Colleen, CGC for hosting us today, and Colleen for her testimony today about Resource Commander, and all of you for attending. We appreciate your time.